My name is Jared James. If you aren't familiar with me, I'm best known as an entrepreneur that gets the unique opportunity to coach and train agents and brokers in the real estate world and speak at conferences in front of thousands of people. But it wasn't always that way for me. What separates me from so many others is that I've actually done everything that I want you to be able to do. For that reason, this is the place to come if you want to learn the strategies needed to succeed in today's marketplace. This is the Jared James Today Show. Hey guys, Jared James here, and welcome to episode 42 of the Jared James Today Show. Today we are going to talk about how to create and keep momentum because this is the time of the year where really we need to do that all the time, but especially right now. And I'll explain why that is in this episode. Really quickly, guys, as I always say, make sure to give this a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it with somebody you know. Don't just subscribe. If you've already subscribed, make sure there's a little bell right next to that subscribe button where it has you turn on notifications. Turn on those notifications. It'll be well worth it. You'll know whenever we create something new. But today, when I talk about how to create and keep the momentum, I think it matters because, you know, I was walking out of the gym yesterday and I held up my phone. I was on Instagram and I said, how many of you have stuck with it? I was seeing the numbers in the gym start to drop. And we know that in business, in life, in anything we do, it's not just about creating momentum. It's ultimately about keeping momentum, right? Because if you live that lifestyle of nothing but momentum and then down and then momentum and then down and then momentum and then down, what happens ultimately? You end up wherever it was that you started all along, and the momentum meant nothing because the momentum was always met with an equal amount of lack of momentum, or an equal amount of whatever the opposite of a lot of momentum is, you're met with that. And so what I want to talk about is how do you actually create that momentum and keep it? Because we know that momentum matters. We know that when you get up and you expect to win, good things happen. We know when you get up and you expect blah to happen, generally speaking, blah happens, okay? So let's talk about that, guys. We're going to talk about 7 different ways you do this. And the first one that we want to make sure we're doing is make sure that we're after something that we're passionate about and know why you're passionate about it. Guys, we literally coach thousands of different real estate professionals. And one of the things I find is whether they're successful, not successful, in between, whatever it happens to be, is even the ones that many of you look at and think that they're uber successful, when they start to talk to me behind the scenes and you really find out what's going on, they're always looking at other things to do, other things they're passionate about, because they're not actually passionate about the industry that they're in. And I've talked about this many times, but it's just so true. It's not about being passionate about another inspection. It's not about being passionate about whatever it happens to be. It's about connecting what it is you do for a living to what it is that you're actually passionate about, okay? So if you are passionate about a charity, if you are passionate about things you do with your family, if you are passionate about this business is ultimately what gives it to you. It's what allows you to have that. It's what gives you the freedom, you know? Another thing I put on Instagram recently, it's not about the money, it's about the freedom to make decisions, the freedom to make choices, the freedom to do what you want to do, this freedom, right? And so connect what it is you do every day, the fact that you do that better, to the thing that you're passionate about. That's what ultimately will start to create momentum for you. Second thing, be realistic about what you will face. Now, this is a big one, guys. I think sometimes we tend to focus on what something can bring us and not what it will take to get there, right? That's why we start at the gym and then we stop, because we picture ourselves in a great state. We picture ourselves in great shape. We picture ourselves, you know, when you start talking about doing a diet or doing one of these things, we picture ourselves losing weight, but then we don't picture ourselves saying no to the brownie, right? But then the brownie keeps coming back and keeps asking, saying, hey, you ready for me? You ready for me? You ready for me? And eventually, we didn't picture ourselves in that state. We pictured ourselves in the end, what it was going to be like. And here's what I like to say about anything you're doing. If you can picture yourself in the worst possible day that you can think of going after whatever it is that you're going after and you still want it, then it's probably worth it, okay? Now this is something I do on a regular basis, right? Like when I got into real estate, for example, selling real estate, I remember having this conversation with my wife and I remember saying like, look, I want to go do this. At this time we didn't have shows on HGTV that made us think everybody was a millionaire or anything like that. But I literally said, when she said she supported me, I said, but I need you to support me when I have the worst day possible. I need you to support me when it seems like I've lost all my potential clients and a deal falls apart and and whatever. Like, you need to actually picture what happens when bills are due and any transaction you potentially had that was going to keep you afloat falls apart. What do you do then? What do you do when, like in my situation, we just created a whole separate company with a CRM and software and all this kind of stuff. What do you do when there's tech issues and things that are going on and, you know, whatever? Like, what do you do then? Don't just picture what's going to happen during the great times. Picture in the worst days what that's going to feel like. Like, go there mentally. How bad is it? Like, how depressed was this going to make me? Like, how down? Did I screw up? When you're in that place, if you could picture yourself in that place and you're like, you know what? I still want this. It's still going to be worth it. My why is still worth it. It's still going to get, whatever it happens to be, then it's probably worth moving forward on. Then it's probably worth starting to create that momentum on. It's probably going to. If you picture yourself in that worst place and you go, oh, that'll never happen, this probably isn't for you, right? I'm going to tell you right now, and if you're surrounded by anybody who's in real estate right now, if you're watching this in an office, if you're watching this wherever it happens to be, and you see a veteran around you, ask them if they have bad days. Ask them if this business can be a roller coaster. Ask them if they ever considered quitting, if they ever considered getting a real job, right? Like, ask them if they ever closed a transaction and thought to themselves, will it ever happen again? Okay? The answer to all of those questions is abso-freaking-lutely yes. All right? Now, third one. Get serious about your environment, okay? I mention this all the time, but it's just so true. You cannot create momentum in a bad environment. You can create negative momentum, but you cannot create the type of environment. Guys, you ever done it? You woke up and you're just feeling good and you don't even know why, but you're just on top of things, whatever, and then you walk into an office setting where it's just like, dun, 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 like everybody is just, and then you talk to your inner circle, and your inner circle's gossiping about somebody and telling you all their problems, and can you believe this one did that, and who does that one think they are, and that doesn't work, guys. We got to get serious about this environment. We've got to get serious about eliminating those energy-sucking vampires, those people who surround you, who whenever they see you, something goes off and goes ding, 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 I'm going to go complain. Ding, 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 ding. This is where I release all of my problems. This is when I get to finally, like a garbage truck, just release everything that I've thought about and everything I worry about and everything that I have an issue with and every person who's bothered me and every relational issue I have and everything I complain about and everything I'm not happy about on my job and everything I'm not happy about with my spouse. Let me dump it on you. Okay. Those people do not belong in your inner circle, okay? In fact, one of the things that has to happen when we look at your environment is we now have to start looking at how do we eliminate that inner circle, okay? You can't accomplish big things as long as you are focused on small things. So as long as you are surrounded by small people who are always just focused on the smallest little things that just don't matter, like that just don't, they don't anything, you'll never accomplish big things. It's just not, it's not even feasible, right? So look at your inner circle. Look, many of you need to decrease that inner circle, right? Like many of you need to look at that inner circle of people you're surrounded by, and you got to get rid of some people. I put something up on Instagram or Facebook or somewhere recently, and I said, be careful when you're following the masses, because sometimes the M is silent. Think about that for a second. Be careful following the masses, because sometimes the M is silent. And so we've got to be very careful surrounding ourselves with so many people and following what everybody else is doing and falling into this group tank mindset, think tank, where we just kind of like whatever everybody else does, however everybody else thinks, whatever everybody else complains about, however else their mentality is, however else their state of mind is, however else they think about business, whoever else they criticize, whoever else. Be careful when you follow the masses, because sometimes the M is silent. If you listen to someone like me, it's probably because you want to go to that next level. You want to take yourself beyond where you are. You probably know that there's something more in you that you're not getting the most out of. And unfortunately, many of you listening will never get there if you allow those same people to be surrounding you who, remember, everybody who's around you, they do one of two things. They either lift your arms up, right? They allow you to be you. They allow you to give you the freedom to succeed and to try things. Or they're people who are like weights. They just hang on your arms. They hang on you, right? You need to be looking at the people around you, and you need to say, first off, do I lift people up or do I bring people down? And then those people who are around me, do they feed me? Do they lift me up? Do they make me stronger? Do they give me free? Or are they just like weights that you're just always supporting and always just getting in on? Which one is it? Okay, next one. Be willing to commit to a process for a minimum of 90 days. 90 days. Not, oh, it takes 21 days to create a habit, so let's do 20. 90 days. I'm a big believer, guys, that if you focus on results, you will get frustration, okay? But if you focus on process, you will get results, okay? I'm going to say that again for some of you. If you focus on results, you'll get frustration. But if you focus on process, you will ultimately get results, okay? So when I say 90 days, the reason why I focus on 90 days is because sometimes it is very difficult to imagine doing something from now on, right? Again, I keep going to the examples because of the time of the year we're in, but it becomes very difficult to think about giving up sugar or giving up whatever for the rest of your life. It becomes very difficult to think about making certain calls or having certain conversations or putting certain things in place for the rest of your life, right? It becomes very difficult to think about that, and the reason why is because we think about things through the filter of what we do right now and how difficult that would be, right? We stumble or we don't want to eliminate people in our inner circle because we come from the perspective of, well, that's who I spend the majority of my time with. Like, that's who everything I'm surrounded with. If I get rid of that, I don't have that anymore. It's not about whether it's serving you or not. It's just that that's what I do, right? I can't really give up sugar. Sugar's in everything that I do, right? Sugar's in everything that I eat. Sugar's in, well, that's because we had bad habits. Like, that's why I can't make those kind of calls. I can't spend that much time prospecting every single day. My day is already filled, and I'm not even doing that now. So how can I even add more? I can't add more. I can't, right? Sometimes we have to come from the perspective and realize, hey, I need to get drastic for about 90 days. Because here's what I know. If you can get drastic about what it is that you need to do to create that momentum for the next 90 days, what happens is over the period of those 90 days, you now start to create a new filter that you make decisions through. Because now, think about this for a second. Could you imagine if for the next 90 days, you spent 2 hours prospecting every day? Not for the next 3 years, not for the next, but just 90 days. Like, as difficult as it may be, 90 days. Like, could we do for the next 90 days? Can you imagine if you made contact with 20 new people every single day for the next 90 days? Like, what that looks like? Like, think about that. If there were 30 days in a month, that's 600 people a month. Over the course of 3 months, that's 1,800 people. What's going to happen when you reach out and talk to 1,800 people that you never would have done before? What's going to happen if you commit to that for 90 days? What's going to happen if you committed to doing 2 open houses a weekend for the next 90 days? So like every month you're doing 8 to 10. So you did 30 open houses, 25 open houses over the next 90 days. Like literally you did 15 of them where nothing happened. And then 15 of them, you got a new buyer or a new seller. And you created 15 transactions you never would have had. Like, we have to take this from the micro and go macro with it. Because what we do is we go do an open house. We do one, don't pull anybody off of it. Weren't trained correctly, aren't using the right words, aren't doing the right follow-up, aren't doing any of that. But we don't create anybody new and we go, see, open houses suck. Based on a sample of 1. What if you took 90 days and just focused on process? What if you took 90 days and said, no sugar, done? Like, guys, and this isn't like something like crazy, whatever. I literally just started doing like coffee, tea, whatever it is, no sugar. And I thought, like, I have to have sugar. How could I not have sugar? Now I'm like, oh, that really wasn't that bad. But my God, the amount of, like, think about it. If you get a large coffee with 3 sugars in it, like, I literally took like 3 things of sugar, put it in a bowl and said, oh, twice a day, that's 6 things. Holy crap, I'm eating that much. We don't even realize what it is that we're doing every single day that is so unproductive, that is so killing momentum for us, and then wondering why we're not staying on the line that we need to stay in. Wondering why we ultimately look up constantly, come to events like mine or Advance or watch me on social or do whatever and go, why did I stop doing that? How come I don't do that? What is it's all the framework of everything you're building around you that ultimately doesn't support that. You see what I'm saying? Like you're somebody showing up to a swimming pool in full jeans and a jacket and going, I can't swim. I can't swim. I got jeans and a jacket on. Well, whose fault is it they showed up in jeans and a jacket, right? It's our fault that we didn't bring swimwear to swim in a pool. And it's a weird example, guys, but it really falls in line with what I'm trying to say to you right now, which is that we're killing momentum by taking activities that would ultimately not only create, but would sustain momentum for us moving forward. And we're looking at it going, I can't do that though, because everything in my lifestyle doesn't match up to that. So everything in my unproductive, doesn't work, reason I'm watching a guy like Jared, reason why I get into coaching, reason why I go and try to do things better, am frustrated with where I am, doesn't allow me to do the things that people like me teach. But then rather than jump towards the things that people like me are teaching and go, I'm going to find a way to do that, we instead point back to our unproductive lifestyles and go, that doesn't fit within the ecosystem of what I've created here. Okay. The issue is not with the thing that would create the momentum, though. The issue is with the ecosystem that we've created. And sometimes you have to get a little bit just on the other edge, a little bit serious and go, you know what? For the next 90 days, I'm going to get a little radical. And I'm going to because what happens after 90 days is that you start to feel the effects of the change that you've made. And now, to go back seems insane because a new ecosystem has been created. And you're going, I can't go back to not prospecting. I can't go back to not leveraging my systems. I can't go back to not having a coach that I'm talking to and holding me accountable and I can't go back to not doing these open houses over here. I can't go back to not having my set time when I do marketing and prospecting and whatever. I can't go back to eating a ton of sugar with everything that I do. I can't go back to that because now we create a new ecosystem. So commit for at least 90 days, because I'm telling you that if you focus on results, you will ultimately get frustrated, but if you focus on process, you will get results, okay? The next one, we want to track and measure everything. If something works or if something doesn't work, but you don't know why it worked or didn't work, it's pointless, right? Like, are any of you tired of coming home and being like, I had a great day today. I put together 2 escrows, I had this, I had that, I had whatever, and then I go, how did that happen? And you go, I don't know, they finally made an offer and it happened. Okay. Picked up 3 new clients. How? Oh, they just finally called. I don't know. I had a bad day today. Why'd you have a bad day? Oh, nothing happened. What? We have to track and measure everything. We need to know how many calls it takes to create that transaction, how many leads it takes to create an actual client, how many clients it takes to create that transaction, how many dollars does it create to create that lead, how many track and measure everything. Because when you track and measure everything, now you're able to put the pedal down on things that work and put the brake down on things that don't work, okay? You run a business or you run around. One of the two. One of the two always happens. There's no other option. Run a business, run around. But if you're tired of this kind of a business, especially with the kind of market that we're heading into right now, you have to start running a business, period. And last but not least, you need to get ridiculously accountable. Ridiculously accountable. You need to have guards all over in your life, from the people you hang out with, to the coach that you work with, to everything, everyone around you. Like, get back to the diet example, guys. When does the diet go wrong, right? It's like you're doing everything yourself, you're doing good, you're doing whatever, and then the moment that you just have that moment that it doesn't work out, or that it doesn't, whatever it is, that is when it falls apart. And all of a sudden, someone says, hey, how's it going? How'd you eat? And they go, what's it your business? And you're like, whoa, looks like they fell off. Because as much as we hate accountability, the reason we hate accountability is because we always want something built in that when we want to finally jump off ship or we want to whatever, we don't want someone to stop us because we know how insatiable the urge is to ultimately fail or to ultimately go back to what's easy or to ultimately, but you need accountability checkpoints in there to avoid those moments. Because momentum, and please hear me on this, momentum is not only created, it is shifted, it is ended, it is whatever you want to call it, on moments. I'm watching a basketball game last week and a guy goes up, they're down a ton of points, whatever, goes up, dunks the ball on two guys, the crowd starts going nuts, momentum shifts completely on that moment and the team comes back and wins. Because everyone got in line once that momentum shifted. We have to look at how do we eliminate the moments. Because usually what happens is that you're going good, momentum's good, everything's going crazy, and then all of a sudden when you're alone, and no one's around, you go after that thing you weren't supposed to eat. And you're like, well, screw this, I just ruined it, momentum dead. Or everything's going great, you're making the calls, you're making the contacts, you got your systems in place, you're growing yourself, you're looking at building a team, you're doing whatever, and all of a sudden you went back to what's easy, and you stopped with the systems, and you stopped making the calls, and you just basically went on a week-long whatever, where you just kind of went, whatever happens, I guess we're doing okay now, it's better than we were last year, and something in you reverts back to the norm. Because something in you doesn't feel comfortable when you went beyond where you were before, when you went beyond where other people were, and so everything in you is fighting it, and going, you need to get back to normal. You've done so good. You've done so much more than everyone else. You're doing more already. Like you're already being more disciplined. Don't you deserve it? Don't you deserve to just have a week where you don't have to do that? And in those moments is where everything that you've worked for comes crashing down. And you need accountability in your life. You need accountability checkpoints in your family and friends. You need accountability checkpoints in your office. You need accountability checkpoints from a coach who's constantly on you, who has those set calls with you, those video calls with you where they're seeing where you're at. Let's get on, let's keep going, let's go. You need those accountability checkpoints because you know that there's so much more in you, but you can't get there on your own, period. And so what I want for so many of you is I want you to not only create momentum, but I want you to keep momentum because momentum is something that you want to ride, not just for now, you want to ride that forevermore, and it's about constantly checking yourself and keeping that momentum going, okay? I hope this was helpful to you guys. If it was, as always, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below, guys, and let me know what are you going to do to create and keep momentum. What specifically? Not, this was great. What are you going to do to create and keep momentum from this point forward so that you do get the most out of yourself? Okay, guys? Make sure you subscribe, turn on the notifications, the little bell next to it, and please share this with somebody that needs to hear it. Thank you so much, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Hey there, you, and I am talking to you in particular, person that made it to the end of my video. It means the world to me. But if you made it to the end, I'm hoping that you'll take a second and subscribe right here. Make sure you share that with all your friends, by the way. They're in real estate, sales, entrepreneurial, whatever it happens to be. By the way, if you're looking for a speaker for your upcoming event, click right here to get some more information. And as usual, if you have a question you want me to personally respond, just connect on social. You can click right over here and see all the platforms I'm on. I hope to hear from you soon. Have a great one.